It's the Lord's Day, and we rejoice in that. It's also a day we celebrate Jesus Christ and his death on the cross. And it's been an honor to be able to be together and worship and remember Jesus with you. We also, in our culture, it's Father's Day. It's the day we reflect on those who have served as our fathers. We also, those of us that have been able to be fathers, consider it one of the great privileges and honors in life. And for those who one day will be fathers, uh, be a father that loves God and loves your children, and each day strive to do the best you can to help them know God. The lesson today was designed last Sunday afternoon. I was at home thinking about it, and all of a sudden I thought, well, I'm going to talk about serving God in a foreign land. Very biblical concept, and I'm going to give you a couple of passages that came to my mind that are not part of the presentation, other than they're the background for it. Hebrews chapter 11 and verses 13 and 14 is a passage that probably will come to your mind as you start thinking about us as strangers and pilgrims, as serving God in a foreign land. He said, these all died in faith, the great men and women of faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, were assured of them, embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. For they who say such things declare plainly they seek a homeland. And truly, if they had called to mind that country from which they had come out, they would have had opportunity to return. But now they desire a better, that is, a heavenly country. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared a city for them. And a second passage is written by Peter. 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 9 through 13. 1 Peter 2, 9 through 13. If you think about Peter, he served the Lord, he loved the Lord, and he writes, but you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, his own special people, that you may proclaim the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light, which were once not a people, but are now the people of God, who have not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy. Beloved, I beg you as sojourners and pilgrims, abstain from fleshly lust, which war against the soul, having your conduct honorable among the Gentiles, that when they speak against you as evildoers, they may by your good works, which they observe, glorify God in the day of visitation. We're talking about serving God in a foreign land. We're going to talk specifically about Daniel, who is a classic Bible example of one who served God in a foreign land. He had faithfulness, he had courage, and he had conviction in exile. As we set the scene, in 605 BC, approximately at that time, Nebuchadnezzar came into Jerusalem and destroyed it. He ended up taking captive many of the young men, some of them just boys, who were going to be servants in the land of Babylon. And as you look at the life of Daniel, his name was changed. Not only was he taken from his family, never to see them again, not only was he made such that he could never have children, he ends up being changed, even his name. His name is going to be taken away from him. His land is taken away from him. And yet he lives one of the most successful lives that's ever been lived on this planet. Babylon was a pagan empire. It was a land of idols, of astrologers, of god kings. It was built to absorb and take away the identity of every group of people that they conquered. As you look at it, the call for him was to live for God where he was. He wasn't ever going back home. Jeremiah had told them there was going to be 70 years of captivity, all the rest of his life, except maybe his very, very old age, which he did not use to go to Babylon or to go back to Israel. He was going to be in a strange land. What do? The application going to be for us is we're strangers and foreigners. In a sense, we're pilgrims in a land. We're in a land where this isn't our eternal home. Our eternal home is in heaven. So what do we do in a foreign land, in a land where sometimes people don't understand us and sometimes they actively oppose us? As you look at Daniel, he resolved that he would not defile himself with the king's food. One of the first things that any person needs to do to serve God is to make up his or her mind that I'm not going to serve God, the foreign gods. I'm going to serve the God of heaven. As you look at Daniel, his name was even taken away from him. He's called Belteshazzar. No longer was he called Daniel, and that's not going to be how the Babylonians refer to him. That's not the name he's going to hear on a day-to-day. His name was given him in honor of the foreign gods. He drew a quiet line at the king's table. He didn't want to start defiling himself with things he was not supposed to eat, and as a Jewish young man. And so even early in life, while a late boy or early teen, he asked to be excused from all the delicacies, many unclean things by the standards of the Hebrews of the Babylonian people. He trusted God to be with him and to deliver him. God gave him knowledge, God gave him skill, and while still a young man, he was 10 times wiser than the astrologers in Babylon. Now, it's interesting that people in Babylonia were highly educated. They were advanced in science. They were advanced in mathematics. They were advanced in building. They did some incredible things that are still not fully understood. The Babylonian gardens, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. These were brilliant people by the standards of their day and even by the standards today. Yet Daniel was wiser than any of these people. As you look at chapter 2 in the book of Daniel, Daniel receives his wisdom from God. He's serving God in a foreign land. He's faithful in his service, even though this isn't his homeland. Even though he does not have freedom, he serves freely, giving himself and dedicating himself to the work that he's doing. And Nebuchadnezzar, being a God king, by that, he was not God, but he claimed to be God and wanted to be worshiped like God. Nebuchadnezzar had a dream. Nebuchadnezzar, by the standards of his world, was extremely smart. And he had this dream, and he knew all of these magicians and astrologers would tell him what he wanted to hear. So he was going to put them to the test. He said, I've had a dream. He said, what's your dream, King? He said, I'm not going to tell you. You're going to tell me. If you truly speak from God, you'll know my dream, and then you can interpret. And so they were not able to respond at all. And they're under death sentence if they cannot respond. So they're extremely upset. What can we do? We don't even know the dream. None of their astrology, none of their ability to do magical type things was going to fool this king at all. And so they finally find a young man who's wise, who says, I can interpret the dream by the power of God. And in the dream, there was a head of gold, which was Babylon. There was a chest of silver, which was apparently Medo-Persia. There was a belly of bronze, and it was thought to be Greece. The legs of iron were Rome. The key part of the dream was there was a kingdom that was coming. That was God's eternal kingdom. It was a stone not cut by human hands. So what did Daniel know? When he's presented with the need to interpret this, he prayed to God. Great place for us. When you have a challenge in life, whatever that challenge is, a good place to start is looking to God and asking God's guidance, God's will. Help me, Lord, know the right thing to do. Help me make a good decision. Secondly, He gave God the credit. Daniel wasn't about Daniel. He humbled himself and he gave honor to God. Also, we find that empires rise and fall then and now by God's hand. I'll give you a hint. AI is not going to destroy America. Now, America may or may not be destroyed. It's been here 250 years. But God is the one who determines when a nation no longer has a right to exist. God's the one who ultimately brings down nations. And the Bible is filled with that, whether it was Babylon or Syria, whether it was Medo-Persia, Greece, or Rome. Kingdoms in this world are temporary. They last for a while. Some last 1,000 years. But ultimately, they fail. Eternal kingdom of God lasts forever. And that's the kingdom that we need to have our first citizenship to.